tariff wars, who blinks first. I was using the example of a chickie run. Both race stolen cars towards the edge of a cliff. The first to eject out of his car is branded a chickie. Here's how Bloomberg Economics projects the impact of an all-out, prolonged trade war between the US and China, and they give 3 examples. My key takeaway is that the US has enormous leverage in this particular binary situation. China has a rare chance to strike back on Huawei. It's hard to think of more potent symbolism in one of his first public outings since President Trump's decision to blacklist Huawei Technologies. President Xi Jinping decided Monday to visit a rare earths plant. Rare earths have traditionally been a tool of China's political economic fights. When Beijing fell out with Tokyo in a 2010 dispute about the ownership of some islands east of Taiwan, it cut export quotas for the minerals and halted shipments to Japan altogether. That was a potentially powerful weapon. China accounted for around 97% of global production, leaving Japan at the mercy of Beijing's custom officials, and more to the point, their bosses. That bit of muscle flexing hasn't worked entirely in China's favor. A global consumption of rare earths, which had gone up by 27% in the 5 years before 2010, fell by 7.2% over the following 5 years as consumers found ways to reduce their dependence on an unreliable supplier. Glencore and its dominance of processing capacity, China produces about 80% of the world's cobalt chemicals. Battery-grade nickel is heading the same way. In normal times, one wouldn't worry too much about this. As with rare earths and in the 1970s crude oil, any attempt to subject vital commodities to political control is likely to lead to demand destruction and efforts by consumers to diversify supply sources. I go back to the strongman conundrum, which is something that both Erdogan and Xi Jinping are facing. If you are the strongman and have placed yourself on a pedestal, then you own the problem. The Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, you will remember, proposed to remove the expression that the President and Vice President of the People's Republic of China shall serve no more than 2 consecutive terms from the country's constitution. In one fell swoop, President Xi Jinping was president for life. That was the apogee. I said the incident with the USS Decatur is surely a precursor, and that emerging and frontier markets are shivering as they start to factor in the China emerging and frontier markets, throw Germany into that feedback loop phenomenon. If China sneezes, I said, a whole lot of countries are going to get a very serious bout of influenza. Interestingly, in our case, we're relatively immune to this phenomenon because China is not a big taker, avocado hopes aside, of our exports.